Now that was satisfying. I'm Rodney with the After Credit Scenes, and we're breaking down the series finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll get messages whenever we drop new content. Check out the description below for some information on a giveaway we're doing where you could win some Funko Pop characters. You'll get a chance to enter the contest for this video and for our Easter egg video. So make sure you look at the description, do the things it asks you to do, and you'll be entered to win those Funko Pops. We'll be announcing the winners on Wednesday, April 28th. You don't want to miss it, so check that out. Let's get right to the episode. From the get-go, we got our new Captain America reveal, and there were so many Easter eggs, so many little moments in this episode where we got to see Sam in his full Cap garb, which was amazing, fighting as the new Captain America, which was almost better than some of the Steve Rogers moments we had, and I think we're going to get a lot more of those in the future, seeing how he fights in that suit. He's got red wing, he's got wings, all those different things combined, the aerial battles, the different types of things that you didn't get with Steve Rogers. Even though Chris Evans as Captain America was fantastic, this got to be its own thing, and it was equally as exciting. I had predicted we would get a Steve picking up Mjolnir type moment with Sam putting on the suit or his reveal. And it ended up really being the whole episode for me. Every time he was in the suit, every time he was fighting, every time he spread his wings and you saw the star in the middle, every time somebody called him Cap, it was excellent. It was amazing. And I was cheering the whole episode every time something like that happened. As the battle gets started with the Flag Smashers, we find out that Sharon Carter's been called in from Madripoor. We don't really get those calls between Sam and Bucky. We just kind of jump in and realize that, hey, this battle is happening, but Sam has already had several weeks to train with the shield as Captain America, and whenever he gets there, Bucky's already on scene. Sharon Carter has been called in from Madripoor. She's there. We got to see a little bit of an Easter egg in the form of her taking off the face mask, similar to what Black Widow did during Captain America the Winter Soldier. And so she's there doing her thing and being a part of this. There were some telltale signs early on that led up to the reveal that happened, and we're going to get to that here in just a second. We get to see Cap and Bucky talking and getting things set up where they can pull the Flag Smashers out of the building, where they can kind of take control of the situation. Batroc is there kind of as his own wild card, but Sam gets to fight Batroc right off the bat. And he starts off by fighting him without the shield, which is a callback to Captain America Winter Soldier, where Steve and Batroc get ready to fight, and Batroc kind of goads him a little bit by saying, let's see how you are without that shield. And Steve puts it on his back and then fights Batroc. Now, obviously, Sam is not Steve. So later on in the battle, when he's having trouble, he pulls out that shield and he ends up fighting him with it. But the conversation right in the middle of all these battles between Bucky and Carly was a really nice touch where Bucky gets that moment instead of somebody like Steve Rogers or Sam, as he's been the whole series. Bucky gets that moment to say, hey, I have been down this road. Please don't go down this road. You gotta stop. Bucky was actually somebody that could say that too. Sam tried to appeal to Carly. It didn't work. It almost worked, if not for John Walker. Bucky gets a chance to try to appeal to her. And that little exchange where Carly kind of argues with him and says, look, you've been through this. You've got blood on your hands as well. And Bucky, in his redemptive nature now, gets to actually say, no, this is not right. And he actually uses that line, I tried to take that on twice and I failed. We're going to look at that a little bit in an Easter egg video, but he's talking about dying with Steve, or falling to his supposed death with Steve while fighting the Nazis, and then with Thanos as well, because remember, he got snapped out of existence. So he tried to fight these bigger bads than Carly did, and in his mind, he failed twice. he got taken by the enemy the first time and forced to be the Winter Soldier for years and years. And then he got to see the losing side of Infinity War, where he was snapped out of existence. So he knows what he's talking about, and Carly still doesn't listen. It was the first time I really viewed her as a child, as a kind of a petulant teenager, when she says, "Oh, well, thanks for the call," and then she hangs up on him. And then even when she dies, seeing Sam holding her and realizing she's just a kid. Bucky even calls her kid. He kind of owns his own age and his own maturity and position in the story, and understands that he's just trying to help this kid right her path. And it's never too late until it is. And then as Carly's dying, in that one brief moment, she apologizes. I kind of thought too little too late, but Sam gives her her redemptive moment, and Sam goes and fights for her. It didn't actually cross my mind. I don't know why it didn't, but it made perfect sense that Sam Wilson, that Cap, had to be the one at the end of all this to be the one to reason with the GRC. I guess at the time I didn't think I saw his story leading to a confrontation with political figures, but it made a lot of sense, and especially being on TV, it was a good opportunity for the world to actually see him as Captain America, seeing as 5 episodes earlier we saw John Walker being introduced as Captain America by the very senator that Sam is now standing in front of, who is there on behalf of the GRC, and them getting to have conversations about what should happen next and how the governments of the world should react to what's going on. I thought the episode title was very telling as well. You know, the series started out with the New World Order, and it ends with One World, One People. And at the beginning, I took a note and I thought, oh, is Carly's story, the Flag Smasher story, coming full circle? Are they going to get their moment? And the battle was taken care of pretty quickly, actually. There was a lot of uproar, and the helicopter fight and armored vehicles and those kind of things, the battles, there were plenty of moments, but overall the takeover stopped pretty quickly. And the One World, One People moment was really Sam's doing as Captain America, telling the GRC, you got to do better. You got to do something else. This is not going to work. And his line there, where the senator says, you know, you can't possibly understand what's going on here. You don't know. 2 things happened there. One, it was the first time that an Avenger was able to explain their reasoning for the blip, okay? The first time that any Avenger had been in front of the public or any kind of figure to actually own up to or speak on behalf of the Avengers about bringing back half of the population. And the senator trying to say, you can't possibly understand. Sam was gone. Sam disappeared. And then to have to show back up and fight on behalf of everybody, you got to understand, all those people on the Avengers who fought in Infinity War were snapped out of existence and then woke up and went right back into another battle with Thanos. So Sam has reason to say, look, we fought for you. We brought people back. And yeah, that's a rough thing. And I wasn't here for the 5 years in between. But now you know what it means to be helpless. And us watching Infinity War and Endgame and all these other movies, we have seen these guys go through what it means to be helpless. So those lines carry some weight. And then on top of that, when the senator challenges him and he says, I'm a black man carrying the stars and stripes. Throughout the whole series, it was like all those little moments that might have been played off as political fodder or as some kind of moral moment that the directors or the writers were trying to throw into the show actually had weight as a story point, as a plot point, on top of the deep real world, our world, cultural and political implications. And so, like I said before, I love that Marvel can take those moments and make us think on a real world level about them, but use them in a way that makes sense in the story so that we think about it, but that we also don't lose the story as well. I want people to think about these things. I want people to think about how they treat other people. I don't talk about it much on these videos, I don't talk about it at all, but as a minister, I want people to love one another. I want people to care about one another. And that goes for black, white, rich, poor. So I love those moments in these episodes, in these stories. And I think it's a great thing that Disney can do in their TV series to really dive into those things a little better. But I also love that Marvel also gets to tell their comic book story and make this still kind of an escapist adventure at the same time. I really enjoyed that one line, and it was almost like a lot of the series and a lot of the stories led up to that moment. The introduction of Sam as Captain America and everything that happened in that conversation, which the battles were amazing and wonderful, and those were the cheering and get up and scream moments, and I was excited. But that conversation with the GRC in front of live television audience, where he gets to say those things, those were the moments. And that was the introduction of a Captain America to a modern social media type world. It was evident throughout these battles that the fallout from Carly killing Lamar and John Walker killing one of the Flag Smashers, those things really came to a head in those battles. And from the beginning of the fight all the way through to the end with Valentina, with Madam Hydra, where we get the birth of U.S. Agent. John Walker shows up with his makeshift shield. Looks pretty good on the front, which is a whole metaphor in and of itself. Looks pretty good on the front, but whenever it started fighting, it couldn't take it. It started denting. When it flipped over, you saw the weld marks. So the facade looked great, but the backside had some chinks in the armor, so to speak, and the front literally did. And so there were some metaphorical things there, but then John Walker got his redemptive moment as well. If you go back to some of our prediction videos, one of the things that I encouraged you guys to watch through the entire series was these moments of redemptive nature and restoration. And this episode really brought a lot of those things to fruition. And John Walker's story was one of them, where he has that moment. The car is about to go over the edge of the building and a Flag Smasher's running away, and he has the option to go after that guy, to follow his anger, or to save the people, and he saves the people. And so John Walker is going to be, moving forward, that moral gray area, along with Madam Hydra, if she's even that yet. Maybe she's gonna form her own kind of Suicide Squad type thing. The comics would call it a Dark Avengers, but that remains to be seen. But he's got the new suit. He's gonna have a different shield because clearly the one he had is not gonna work. And what becomes of him and how he fights and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, even Valentina says it. People aren't gonna need a Captain America, they're gonna need a U.S. agent. So he's already something different. And the moment where he cheered with his wife, I'm back, was actually really heartwarming. It was, for all the awful he had done, seeing him in a different suit actually made me okay with him as a character and even an actor, as opposed to seeing him in the Captain America costume. And it was good for him to have that moment, not only for the storyline, but for us as fans. I think that was a really good moment as well. We get the moment in the sewer after the whole plan has really gone bust and everybody's kind of in that maze of tunnels and they have to split up again. And Sam gets his moment with Carly. We get that reveal, and I even texted somebody in the middle of it and said, "Oh, I called it." And I'm gonna give a little bit of a shout out right here to a buddy of mine I have met on YouTube named the Astounding Cameron. He and I had a conversation in the comments of one of our videos about whether or not Sharon Carter was the power broker. And I made a comment that I had several people that had been telling me, "Oh, I don't think she's the power broker." And I commented to Cameron that we're gonna have to, it's gonna be an interesting "I told you so" moment. And Cameron responded to me that he would be one of those people that I would have to tell "I told you so" to. So just making a joke, man, but I told you so, bro. I was super excited about that. There were so many things right down to in this episode as Sharon is standing in front of Carly, and right as they start the conversation, Sharon does the head tilt. And before she ever said a word, I'm in the room by myself going, head tilt, head tilt, head tilt. And then she reveals herself to be the power broker, that she had used Batroc to infiltrate them, to do what she needed to do. And then in a twist, she ends up shooting Batroc. So we'll just pause for a moment. Our favorite French villain. I mean, I guess. There's probably some other good French villains out there, huh? Maybe? Do they make good French villains? I'm not quite sure. Moving on. Batroc dies, and Sharon gets shot. And then the fight with Carly and Sam, and then Carly meets her demise, and everybody kind of got a nice little wrap up there, because Carly's story does not end with her death, and Sam carries on that fight. There was a moment in that fight between Sam and Carly where Sam is saying, I'm not gonna fight you, I'm not gonna fight you, I'm not gonna fight you. And he stops when Carly says, stay down. And he just says, no. That one little moment, go back and watch it. That moment right there was Sam's version of Steve Rogers' I can do this all day. And that fight between the two of them where he's just taking a beating from a super soldier kept making me think about John Walker fighting the Dora Milaje, where he says they weren't even super soldiers and he couldn't fight them. And Sam is going toe-to-toe with the super soldier, where Bucky, back in episode 2, got his butt handed to him, and Sam even calls him out on it. And so Sam going toe-to-toe with her was a really great moment. And then moving her story forward by talking to the GRC and bringing her body out for people to see was almost honoring her, especially when he told them, don't call them terrorists. You gotta stop using these labels. We are more than the labels you put on us. And that's a really great message in the MCU. For us in the real world, I thought it was a really great moment, and I'm glad they played that up. The dialogue right there in the middle of the episode was a really great way to stop and kind of bring some realism to all the crazy fighting and flying and acrobatics going on around you. And all of that just made the episode even better. The redemptive arcs with Bucky getting to go back and talk to his neighbor and have that resolution with him, giving the book, not just marking out the names and giving the evidence of his counseling to his counselor, but he gave up Cap's book. So letting that part go was a really big deal. And then Sam and his redemptive arc with Isaiah Bradley, getting to see Elijah, who in the future will hopefully become Patriot, and maybe that's some young Avenger teases there. Kevin Feige has already said he wants to do that, and seeing him a lot more front and center in this episode with Isaiah was really, really cool. And then the conversations where Isaiah was actually able to tell Sam, you're something special, where he was proud to see Sam in that costume, where in episode 5, he was really bitter about it and was not on board with Sam taking up that shield at all. And then Sam getting his moment to add to the Captain America legacy by putting Isaiah's statue and Isaiah's story in the midst of that Smithsonian exhibit was really, really awesome. And I hope that they come back to that somehow, or maybe a spinoff would be awesome. Another series that's a prequel of sorts, where you get to see Isaiah's story, or maybe you get some of that in Elijah's story later on, would be really, really awesome. I don't think we're done with that story because it was so rich and it was so good. And even culturally, it's something that needs to be talked about. And so it's very timely as well. So I think we're going to get more of that, but that might be an I told you so 3-4 years down the road. So who knows? And then the tag at the end was almost worth the entire series, where it went from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And if they do another series, which is entirely possible, then we're gonna get a lot of that in the future, and it's gonna be really exciting to see where they go with the story. Because you remember, with Phase 4, there's a whole lot of movies and stories that are getting told that don't include Bucky or Sam. And so they've got a lot of room to do some other things there. If you stayed for the after credits, like I hoped you did, then you got to see Sharon Carter getting her pardon, which was another really great closure moment for Sam, saying, hey, I didn't forget about your pardon. But then we know that she's that power broker, and her being able to take her post back in S.H.I.E.L.D. or in some government organization, but then going out and getting right on the phone and saying, we're gonna have access to all these different things. The only thing that maybe didn't get explained really well is why was Sharon so ready to experiment with super soldier serum? Knowing what she knew about Steve, knowing what she knew about all those different things, and living through the battle with Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D., how are they going to rectify her storyline as a good character or as someone who rationalized using the serum and all those kind of things in a way that would tarnish Steve's legacy? Remains to be seen. That's going to be something good if they do a season 2 to really talk about and for Sam and Bucky to become aware of that, oh, she's the power broker and what they need to do with that. And remember, the power broker in the comics is not just one person. It kind of passes from person to person. So how she became the power broker, how it gets passed forward, or if there's other entities at play here, is going to be a really interesting story. So if there was any resolution that wasn't had, it was that, because even Zemo's story got a little bit of closure, because you see him on the raft getting to listen to the fact that the last of the Flag Smashers en route to the raft were blown up in a car bomb, and you get to see that Zemo's butler was the one that did it. We haven't seen the last of Zemo, especially if his butler's willing to go to those lengths. But Zemo got his world without super soldiers, and it kind of tied that up in a nice little bow pretty quickly, and so we don't have to worry about those things right now. I'm curious what you guys thought. We spent a lot of time talking about all the different things in this episode, and I'm curious what you guys thought about it. Share it in the comments. Don't forget to read our description so you can figure out how to enter our giveaway and win those Funko Pop characters. You'll get one more chance to enter if you watch our Easter egg video that is also online, and then we'll announce those winners on April 28th when we air our scorecard video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.